This is a Cameroon Journal editorial titled Why Agbor, Balla and Dr. Fontem Should Deny Conditional Bail. Again, the subject is Why Agbor, Balla and Dr. Fontem Should Deny Conditional Bail. On Wednesday, May the 24th, Barrister Agbor, Balla, Dr. Fontem, Neba, and Mancho Bisbig appeared before the Yaoundé Military Tribunal a fourth time for frame-up charges that the government of La République du Cameroun has since levied against them. They are charged with acts of treason and terrorism for exercising their right to free speech, whereby they advocated for a return to the 1961 federal status in Cameroon. Since their arrest, general outcry both from within and without has been for their unconditional release because right-thinking people have not seen the crime they committed. International human rights groups and other international organizations, including lawyers groups, have all said that Barrister Balla and Dr. Fontem and all the others arrested and detained on same charges ought to be unconditionally released or given unconditional bail until when the government is able to present evidence that they committed a crime. But it appears that going to court, their lawyers are not pressing hard enough for this unconditional release. It appears that they did be comfortable accepting a deal presented in court last Wednesday, a deal which basically asked the accused to renounce their innocence and rights in exchange for the bail. We were told coming out of court last Wednesday that the government's prosecutor was okay with the idea of a bail that comes with, and I quote, judicial supervision, end quote. That can mean anything, including the possibility of home imprisonment, a situation where the accused, once bailed, cannot move about as free men. They will be monitored, and they cannot travel out of the country. They may not even be able to travel out of their immediate residences. Their telephones and other forms of communication will be highly monitored, and they may even be compelled to wear tracking devices on their bodies so that they can't escape like others have. Then, they will also be sternly reminded that the consortium is outlawed, that they dare not toy with the idea of it anymore. They will also be told to deposit heavy sums of indemnities with the government of La République du Cameroun as part of the bail condition. At the Cameroon Journal, we claim no monopoly over wisdom. However, we hold very strongly that the idea of conditional bail for our leaders comes across as very much misguided and contradicts common law principles that hold the accused not guilty until proven otherwise. We will interpret acceptance of such a bail as kind of legitimizing the charges that they are being charged with. These men and 23 others who are being held in dungeons in Yaoundé didn't only do nothing wrong. It should be made loud or said loud and clear that the court in Yaoundé has no jurisdiction over citizens arrested in the southwest and northwest regions. That is, if Paul Biya wasn't a dictator leading a banana republic. Assuming that there are legitimate charges against them, shouldn't their trial jurisdiction supposed to be Boya in Bamenda, where common law is practiced? How can Agbor, Balla, a lawyer in that matter, want to bow to such cheap blackmail by accepting to take conditional bail from a court that has no jurisdiction over him, especially when we remember that this kind of situation is exactly what led Anglophone lawyers to start the ongoing Southern Cameroon struggle. These are some of the reasons why we think that accepting any form of conditional bail from a court that has no jurisdiction over them in the first place is simply legitimizing the charges against them and the illegalities of La République du Cameroon. We recall at the Cameroon Journal that similar charges were thrown up against some Southern Cameroonians picked up in Bamenda and Boya at the very escalation of the Southern Cameroon crisis. Public outcry as is ongoing today for Agbor, Balla and others led to their unconditional release. Have we forgotten those images of buses dropping up young Southern Cameroonians at the governor's office in Bamenda? Why should Balla and Fontem want to accept conditional bail when they could just well stay in there and continue to insist on their innocence until the regime bows to their unconditional release? And besides, any acceptance of bail by Balla and Fontem would only automatically suggest that the 23 others, including Manchel BBC, who are still being held in Conditional, are guilty, since they don't have the social standing of Balla and Fontem to demand conditional bail. Do not be mistaken. We are not here suggesting that Balla and Fontem should deny bail. Rather, we are suggesting that they deny any form of bail that does not guarantee their full freedoms. And as far as we know, conditional bail still holds them guilty as charged and doesn't guarantee their full freedoms. We are afraid that accepting any type of bail that is not unconditional may only be the beginning of compromise in this struggle. It is time for Agbor, Balla and Dr. Fontem to put on the thinking cap of Nelson Mandela. Mandela was given opportunity upon opportunity by the South African apartheid regime for conditional release from apartheid prison. But Mandela turned it down again and again and again. Mandela knew that should he accept it and get out of jail, those of his compatriots still locked up and who didn't have his popularity and standing would remain in prison forever. And so Mandela chose to reject such offers, as many as they came. Mandela wasn't acting for his own interest at this time. As long as he lived in that prison, he knew the rest of the people out there in South Africa, the black people in South Africa, had seen in him their undisputable leader. And having realized that the struggle wasn't anymore about his personal freedom, Mandela was ready to sacrifice even his own family. He was not going to accept any form of release unless it came unconditionally. There is no doubt that most Southern Cameroonians today have adopted Agbor, Balla, Dr. Fontem, Anya Paul, and others as their leaders. Again and again, the BS regime is being told by Southern Cameroonians, if you want to dialogue with us, release our leaders and dialogue with them. Southern Cameroonians are saying to the BS regime, the only people you can dialogue with are our leaders who are in jail. Southern Cameroonians are saying that Balla, Fontem, Anya, amongst others, are their leaders. Balla and Fontem should therefore be aware that this struggle isn't anymore about their own individual freedoms. It is about the freedom of over 8 million people in the Southern Cameroons who are looking up to them. That means any decision that Agbor, Balla and Dr. Fontem want to take must reflect or be for the interests of those people. That also means denying the temptation of conditional bail that keeps 23 others in jail and holds an entire territory guilty of secession, treason, and terrorism. Again, you heard this from the Cameroon Journal. You can read the scripts of this editorial at thecameroonjournal.com. Thanks for listening.